covering news where you live. This is 5 News First at 4.
The arrests are piling up in a Benton County murder case. The total number of capital murder suspects climbing each day this week, and most of them under the age of 18. Jacob Luthi digging deeper into this case.
Coming up at 4, XNA officials show us how they're preparing for emergency scenarios.
And thanks for joining us for your 5 News First at 4. I'm Darren Bobb. Chief Meteorologist Scott Covert's here to talk about a chance of at least some rain, maybe even more by tonight.
Yeah, it's been pretty quiet today. Clouds have built into the sky. That trend continues. We're looking at a level 2 potential. This hasn't changed since last night. Good news for us, right? That level 2 in yellow, generally speaking, along and south of Interstate 40. Green's going to be your level 1 potential. That extends into parts of Crawford, Washington, and Madison County. Radar right now, you'll notice here, is pretty quiet. We're not detecting or tracking anything out there now, but those storms probably get fired up probably around 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock this evening. The threat potential runs through about midnight, but here's the thing. I'm not expecting many storms. I think they're going to be rather isolated out there. It's just those that do fire up could be capable of producing a little bit of hail. Gosh, it was another warm one, upper 70s, low 80s still this afternoon. These numbers probably trail off into the 50s overnight. Tonight we'll have a nice day on tap for tomorrow, but we do have some interesting things to track. Not only do we have a lunar eclipse, that's tomorrow night. We'll take a look at what that means for us. We also have that potential for some Friday storms. I'll tell you, I'm even more comfortable now than I was yesterday. That trend continues to push the worst of those storms off to our neighbors off to the east. We'll track that nonetheless. There's still a chance of a few storms around these parts, but new this afternoon is the potential for some fire weather. That increase being noted by the National Weather Service with some brand new alerts they've issued this afternoon. Details on what that means straight ahead.
All right, Scott, thanks. 9 suspects now facing capital murder charges in Benton County for the alleged shooting death of 41-year-old Andres Fonseca in Rogers. Prosecutors say at least 5 of the suspects are juveniles. Rogers police say the shooting happened just after midnight Saturday on South B Street. A probable cause affidavit for Roca shows police believe 3 suspects shot 3 different firearms in the direction of Fonseca. It adds 32 9mm shell casings were found around the scene. Benton County Prosecutor Brian Sexton says the office feels confident in their charges given so far.
We feel strongly that we have enough evidence to go forward on capital murder on both our primary defendants and other defendants who we can build up a charge for liability through other facts.
Sexton says prosecutors will try the juveniles in this case as adults.
5 News coverage of the Razorbacks is sponsored by Arvest Bank.
Well, what started out as an Arkansas blowout against South Carolina turned into a very close contest as the SEC men's basketball tournament tipped off today in Nashville. 5 News Sports Director Alex Stewart is here with the highlights. And Alex, it just can't be easy.
Darren, I wish I could say this one was easy. The Hogs got their revenge against South Carolina in an absolute way that left no doubt. But I think we all know that by now that's just not how this team operates. So, to recap the first round of the SEC tournament, to Nashville we go. Now, during the first half, it certainly looked like Arkansas was going to run away with this one. They surpassed their first half point total from their game against the Gamecocks 11 days ago in just 7 minutes with 15, and they led by 17 points at the break. They then went on to open up a 20-point lead in the second half. However, finishing games has been one of their biggest issues all season, and that problem traveled with them to Tennessee. Arkansas would go scoreless for an 8-minute stretch that allowed SC to claw to within 1. However, for as bad as it was, when they had to have it, they got it. A few big shots and clutch free throws late, and Arkansas secures the 72-68 victory. So, the first stop on the revenge tour was an easy success, but a success nonetheless. So, the next stop on the road to redemption is against Ole Miss, who beat the Hogs by 7 in the second game of SEC play earlier this year. That game tipping off tomorrow at noon, Darren.
All right, Alex, thanks. Appreciate that. New at 4 today, XNA is practicing real-life emergency scenarios to make sure you are safe when flying in and out of that airport. 5 News reporter Rachel Williams shows us the great efforts that go into this type of training.
Today, dozens of area fire departments and 80 student volunteers made this training possible today. But I want to set the scene for you. Here's what took place. At first, a stage plane caught on fire. XNA firefighters put it out as quickly as possible. Then high school students pretended to be severely injured so paramedics could practice efficiently providing aid. This training is critical. This specialized training is carefully planned out. Organizers say it's an opportunity to evaluate how XNA and emergency services prepare for potential crises, while giving airport personnel the hands-on training they need. This training is not in response to any of the plane incidents that's been happening across the country. XNA officials say this training was scheduled a year ago and the next one will happen in 2028. But for now, I'm at XNA covering news where you live. Rachel Williams, 5 News.
All right, Rachel, thanks. Efforts to end daylight savings in Arkansas failing at the Capitol today. State Rep Stephen Meeks of Greenbrier wants to end daylight saving to improve mental and physical health. But committee members were concerned with other effects sticking to one-time year-round. For instance, people working and traveling across state lines or issues with scheduling TV and radio programming. Tensions continue to mount over tariffs. President Trump sent a warning today that whatever tariffs are put against the U.S., the same will be put against them. Harsh words as many Americans feel confused and uneasy about the back and forth.
I'm not like a block that just, I won't delay. It's called flexibility. It's not called inconsistency. It's called flexibility. And I think you want me to be flexible too.
Is flexibility going to be your ongoing view toward?
Sure, I'll always have flexibility, but there will be very little flexibility once we start.
In response to the overnight action of the U.S. imposing tariffs on steel and aluminum imports, the European Union and Canada announcing additional tariffs on $28 billion worth of American goods, including beef. The president also continues to address growing concerns over federal layoffs. His latest announcement targeting more than 1,300 education department employees. 5 News keeping an eye on a proposed ceasefire deal between Ukraine and Russia. Right now, you're looking at efforts to put out a fire in northern Ukraine after a Russian attack late last night. Right now, there is a 30-day ceasefire deal on the table, and it has U.S. support. Russia says it is waiting on more details before it can commit to a position on that deal. New at 4, an activist who led pro-Palestinian protest at Columbia University remains in detention in Louisiana. Follows a brief court hearing today. Bradley Blackburn tells us ICE agents took Mahmoud Khalil into custody over the weekend for removal from the U.S., but federal judge has blocked his deportation for now.
Demonstrators gathered outside Manhattan federal court calling for the release of pro-Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil.
Everybody should be out in the streets right now. Everybody should be really upset about this right now.
Inside the courthouse, attorneys for the legal U.S. resident faced off with Trump administration officials who want Khalil deported.
Every day that Mahmoud spends in detention in Louisiana is a day too long.
Immigration agents arrested the 30-year-old over the weekend before sending him to an ICE detention center in Louisiana. They claim he led activities aligned to Hamas, but have not provided details on any charges or alleged crimes.
This is a movement, an anti-war movement.
Khalil was a leader during pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia University. The White House says the arrest is just the first of many targeting anti-Semitism on campuses nationwide.
Mahmoud Khalil was an individual who was given the privilege of coming to this country to study at one of our nation's finest universities and colleges. And he took advantage of that opportunity, of that privilege.
On Wednesday, a judge ordered that Khalil's lawyers be given attorney-client privileged calls with their client as they continue to build their case.
We and he fully intend to vindicate not just his First Amendment rights, but those of all Americans, frankly.
They argue their client should be moved closer to his New York home and be reunited with his wife, an American citizen who is expected to give birth next month. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.